Hello, everybody, and welcome to What's the Story podcast. This is WTS 314. My name's Danny Murray.
I am Graham Merrigan.
Right. How are you, Graham Merrigan?
I'm good, very good. How are you?
Doing great. It's been a minute since we last had a podcast. We're doing various things, and then
We're just enjoying the Euros.
Just enjoying the Euros. I've been to about 700 concerts. I was in Belfast for a week. I got COVID finally.
Finally, after your run. What a run!
That's it. Yeah, me and Roman Reigns basically were tied for.
Good segue, Daniel.
I'm trying to be topical. I'm trying to be on it. You know what I mean? But yeah, so we had a few weeks off. We were gonna do something, and then the guest we have this week said, "Hey, I can do," and we were like, "Well, there's no point in us doing something." Like, I mean, if we're gonna take a few weeks off and come back, let's come back with a bang.
Absolutely. And one of our most amazing repeat guests, probably the biggest guest in terms of superstardom and loved around the world, and kids dressing up as him at Halloween.
Yeah, no, it's not Gary Mackle. People taking it there. But no, and as you said, and we must from the bat, right? He was so generous with his time that he's probably gotten a little bit of trouble with his wife for being late for lunch. So
how long did we do?
Like
an hour and a half?
Nearly an hour and a half. Yes, yeah. So must apologise to his lovely wife and to thank Fergal as well for just being a diamond with his time. Like it's just an absolute gorgeous human. Love the guy. So anyway, look, we've given it away, but Mero, who are we talking to?
So this podcast is 9 years old this year. One of our first megastar superstars we had on the pod was 6 months into the pod. He's been a repeat guest ever since. He's our buddy. He's absolutely sensational at what he does. Who am I talking about, Danny?
Talking about
You're talking about me anyway.
Yeah. 10 we're 9 years going. You're 10 years in the WWE. Unbelievable.
Yeah, 10 years in July, I think it'll be. Yeah. So 10 years at the end of the month. I remember it was I had my birthday July 25th, and I had a birthday party in Bray with my family and all my mates on, I think, the 24th or the 25th, and then I flew to America the next day to start this cracker adventure or journey, whatever you want to call it.
My journey.
10 years later, they are celebrating their 10th anniversary, one half the tag team champions with a fellow Bray man. Like you couldn't have thought that was going to fucking happen.
Yeah, lads, as you say it, like, I know we're not on video, but I got goosebumps all over me trying to show you.
Goosebumps as well.
It's bananas, man. Jordan walked into the gym in Bray when he was 12 years old, and I remember we used to run separate classes, like kids class and adult class. So I think he walked in while an adult class was going on, and he was just watching, and I'm there moving around on the mats, working through drills with lads on the mats. I'm like, who's this little lad? And he comes in, and the kids class didn't last too long because the kids, we didn't really know what the fuck we were doing, to be honest with you. We were just trying to throw shit at the wall in them days, and the kids kind of started to lose interest. But he was the only one that kind of kept coming back. And then it didn't make sense to keep running the kids class just for 2 or 3 lads, who just incorporated them into the adult class, and he just excelled every single week, And if anyone deserves it, it's him. What he's done and the journey he's gone through over the last 20 years, unbelievable to see. And just to share that moment with him on Raw a couple of weeks ago, that was real emotion, So it was great.
Yeah, it's unreal.
It was absolutely, it was brilliant.
Watching it, we were because. Last time when we've had you on the past, we talked about the whole thing of the fact that we grew up 2 towns over, whatever, not far from where you grew up, and the fact that someone from Bray is doing, we're like, what the, but now the fact that the tag team champions are and hang on, surely now it's going to be all rise for a judgment, Bray, right?
I love that. I don't know if Damien's going to be happy with me taking that, but
fuck him.
Yeah, exactly.
The judgment, Bray, I love it. One of the when I was before COVID, I used to go to a lot of OTT every month, and one of the best matches I'd ever seen live was Jordan JD McDonagh against Gunther in a GA hall. I never saw anything like it live. I'm talking live now. In all my life, it was just the drama. You're kind of going, and no disrespect to OTT, but you're kind of going, can these two fellas be more recognized or whatever? But now the two of them are.
Yeah, like Walter or Gunter or whatever you want to call him, in my opinion, is probably the best performer on earth right now. In my opinion, like to watch in the ring, like I get like so oversaturated with like seeing so much stuff that I just kind of go, I couldn't be arsed watching this. You know, it's like I've kind of not seen it all, but I've seen so much. I'm 43 now soon, so like I'm watching wrestling 35 years. So like it's rare that I go like, I'm interested in this. But when Walter gets in the ring, I'm interested. Like I want to see everything that he does. Like there's no bits where I'm, you know, I know what he's going to do here for the next 5 minutes. It's really interesting to me, and that's like one of the few matches that I haven't had yet in my career that like I really want to have. And we tried to set it up right before COVID. We were trying to set it up in NXT UK, and then kind of the world kind of had a different plan for us, and we kind of like went a different way. And now we're kind of both heels, so I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but I have expressed me opinion to the office that like I would love to get to that match in the future. So fingers crossed. I've got 5 years on my deal, so we can get it done in the next 5 years.
So in April of this year, you signed a new contract with WWE for 5 more years, is it?
Yeah, another extension for 5 years. Yeah.
And how are you excited about that?
Yeah, I am. I'm super excited because you never know. Like, I remember when I was 28 thinking, like, if I make it to 38, I'll be doing well, you know? And then you know, you're in your 40s and you think, shit, do they actually want me to keep doing this? Am I going to be able to keep doing it? Like, how's my body going to feel? And we sat down and had a couple of conversations, and like the feelings were kind of mutual. Like, I wanted to stay, they wanted me to stay, and you know, we hashed it out, and I couldn't be happier. Because it was kind of like it's a weird time, those like 6 months coming up to when you know your contract is up. You go, shit, is this the end of my run? Like, you know, is it time to move on? Is it like just 10 years? And look, 10 years is incredible. Like I wrestled for 6 years in England, right? And I'd always thought like, whatever I do outside of England, England's going to always be the biggest chapter of my career, right? And then I went to Japan for 8 years, and I lasted 8 years in Japan. That's definitely going to be like the main chunk of my career. And then like I was just going to WWE just to give it a lash and like see what happens. You know, I thought, maybe last 2 or 3 years, and then I'll go back to Ireland or back to Japan and figure it out from there. And now here I am, like 10 years in, with another 5 years to go. Fingers crossed, you know, fire me. So like it's a pretty wild journey, you know.
It's so wild.
And then when you're that deep in the game, like, you know, 20 plus years in the game, you're thinking like, like people have seen me so much now. You know, there's all these new kids coming in, they're way cooler. Like you kind of lose your cool, like new shiny toy, like feel. Like, you know, when I came up in NXT and like then I was Universal Champions, like he's the new kid on the block, and everyone was like interested and excited to see what he's going to do next. But like everyone's kind of seen everything I can do, you know. So like I'm not doing anything new, I'm not doing any new tricks. So you start to second guess yourself and go, shit, like like past my expiry date now, you know. And then with the contract coming up looming, and it's, you know, it's 4 months, it's 3 months, shit, like I really should enjoy this one because this could be my last one, you know. This you just don't know. You're like, it's like it's obviously rooted in insecurity, like, you know, but it's a mad feeling to then go from like having so much insecurity and shit, am I going to keep doing this, to then like signing a new deal, and this like rush of endorphins come back, and like the adrenaline comes back, and the fucking like the eagerness and the thirst comes back to like, I want to show these people again, you know. I want to show everyone I belong here, I still belong here, and I'm gonna be the fucking best at this.
Love it, man.
Got goosebumps there.
That's like part of that as well, like that whole thing, like keeping it fresh for you, right? Like that has to be a part of it. And I feel like when you did turn heel and this run in the Judgment Day, like that had to give you, that's opened up so many more avenues and gives you, like, from a character point of view, a little bit more to play with, right?
Yeah, like I haven't said this publicly ever, but the 2 months before I turned heel was probably the lowest I'd been in my career, like with respect to like like investment, like personal investment. I was just like showing up. I was going, yeah, who do you want me to lose to today? Who do you want me to like? It was just kind of the same shit that had been done over and over again. I was doing the same act for so long, and I just felt like I had so much more to give, you know.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anyone's fault. It was just like there was a lot of kind of factors that kind of led into this, and one of them was COVID, because COVID meant that my green card process got all fucked up. And then because of that, I had to go home to Ireland for 2 months right before WrestleMania. So then I was kind of out of the build up to WrestleMania. I came back right before WrestleMania, but I was left off WrestleMania because there was no time to build a match. So like that then like kind of like starts to fuck with your brain, going like, shit, like why am I not on WrestleMania? I'm not good enough. But it wasn't really that. It was just COVID had locked me in the US for 2 years. So then when the lockdown stopped, I needed to travel to Ireland to get on my visa and paperwork stuff sorted. That took so long because it was such a backup from the 2 years that then it was just, it had a knock-on effect on the next couple of months of my career. And it was right there where I was kind of like left in limbo in the storylines, kind of like we're just trying to throw shit at the wall. And it was kind of like Edge who was the one who said, no, I want this guy. Like, this guy's, we're not using him enough. I want him in Judgment Day. And that's kind of where things started to turn. And then we went with the story of putting me and AJ and Liv together as like a little kind of faction, just so I had someone to turn on.
Yeah.
Like that was literally just set up for me to turn. And originally I was supposed to turn on AJ, but then it all, you know, changed and I turned on Edge because I think someone got injured and they needed to turn Edge back babyface or something like that. You know, one domino falls, you know, the whole stack goes. So it's like, yeah.
What a mad time. I remember that visa process because I was ringing about 20 people to try and get you into the US Embassy. I was like, Danny, how do I get Ferg? How do I get Ferg an appointment?
And I was reaching out to everyone I knew back home, and it was just impossible. Like, so many people were trying to help me. I was so grateful, but just nothing could be done. It was like if everyone just felt like, I don't know if everyone felt helpless, but I felt helpless. You know, so I just couldn't do anything. You know, I was stuck here in Florida. Everything was approved. I just couldn't get in there to get the stamp. And it was so frustrating, you know.
Mad time, but
it's a good time now. It's a good time now. Let's talk about positive shit.
There you go.
Absolutely,
there you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I've heard Edge talk even before Judgment Day when he made his return. His top list and all that. He wanted to work with you. He wanted to work with numerous people. But Jesus, that must have been a bit of a like, holy fuck, Edge wants to work with me type thing.
Yeah, so like I'd always admired Edge, like obviously as a fan when I was a kid, and more so not when he was in the run, but after his run, I would like go back and watch it and go, wow, like I didn't really appreciate him at the time, you know, like how good he was. And then like when him and Christian kind of retired, I came to WWE, so we just kind of missed each other, but they were doing the Edge and Christian show. So like they'd asked me on the Edge and Christian show, and we'd always had like a good relationship. And they were the two guys that I'd always looked to say, like, when I'm done in the business, that's the way I want to be done. Like, they seem to do it like with class and dignity, and they just transitioned out and into telly and doing their other things. But they done it like with real grace, because like they weren't like super beat up and broken down and drug addicts and, you know, getting cancelled and all this shit. Like, it was just like they were just two gentlemen that had just went from being pro wrestlers to now being like civilians, right, and doing their thing. And I always admired that and thought like, oh, I'd love to be able to like transition out of the business like them. And like kind of like the fire that I had of like getting to wrestle Edge and Christian like extinguished. And then like when Edge came back and that return at Royal Rumble, I thought like, it was like flicking the Zippo, like, you know, it's just gone boof, like the fire's back lit, you know. And I was like, I wonder what the chances are. It's too far-fetched. These Edge and Finn Bálor were different points in their career, different points in the card. We're about babyface at times. Like, it's not going to happen. And then we started to work towards, I think I'd gone back to NXT, or I think I was back in NXT, and I thought like, well, I'm in NXT. He's on the main roster. It's not going to happen. But I guess we're building to a Dublin takeover, which I'm sure you lads know was supposed to happen, but it was supposed to happen in the April of 2020, but the country got shut down. So it got postponed till the October, and then it eventually got cancelled. But the match was supposed to be in the Tree Arena, was supposed to be Finn Bálor versus Edge.
No way.
And like, yeah. And then that got kind of cancelled and postponed, and then we kind of started to work towards me and Walter, and then just the wheels fell off. But yeah, it's mad that the relationship with me and Edge has been like, it's been going on for a long time of trying to get things together before we actually did work. And then when we did work, I didn't think it was going to last 9 months. You know, I thought it was going to be like a one and done. Yeah.
And that was unreal. That, like, I don't know, that like the Finn 14 Staples comes to mind, right? The Hell in a Cell, man. Just talk us through, because that looked fucking gnarly, to be honest. Like,
yeah. So there's a whole like backstory to the whole day, but like we pretty much got frustrated with a lot of things that were happening on the day, and it wasn't the match we wanted to do wasn't a match we ended up doing. We had to change a lot of things, like last minute, like literally 20 minutes before we went out there. We had to change a lot of the stuff that we wanted to do, and I think we were both like a little bit annoyed with just how the day had gone, and we just wanted to get out there. So obviously, like, the adrenaline's pumping, and we're fucking off the rails, going, let's kill this shit, you know. And I think Edge just got a little bit excited when he flung the ladder, because we'd had a conversation where I said, hey, if you're going to throw the ladder, like, if I'm facing you, like, just welly me in the head with it. But if I've got me back to you, like, throw it at me back, you know. So he's getting in the ring, and I've got me back to him. I thought, like, I'm going to take this on the head. But he'd already made the decision that Finn's got me his back to me. He's thrown it. So as he throws it, I turn around. And I thought, no problem. It's coming straight at me. I'll just put my hands up. So I put my hands up. But the rungs of the ladder went straight through the gap in my hands. You know what I'm saying? So the ladder's still coming. And as the ladder's still coming, I'm like, why is the ladder still coming at me? I've got my hands up. Like, why aren't my hands blocking it? And then I just, last second, I just dropped my chin, and it got me in the head. I thought, ooh, that stung. But, like, it wasn't like a bad bang, or like, it wasn't a concussion. It wasn't like I went out for a minute. It was nothing. And I just went down and go, whew, that was weird. And I'm on my back, so like I roll over onto all fours, and then I see like the waterfall of blood just come drip, 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 drip. And it's at this point, referee Sean Bennett comes over and he goes, Ferg, you okay? I said, yeah, I'm okay. He goes, you know where you are? I said, I'm in WrestleMania. And he goes, are you okay to go on? I said, yeah, I'm fine. He says, well, they're telling me in my earpiece that you got to go talk to the doctor. I said, Sean, I'm fine. This is all happening like live in the moment, like conversation while I'm selling. And he goes, dude, I'm putting my gloves on. They're telling me you got to go talk to the doctor, or I'm going to ring the bell. So I crawl over to the fucking edge of the ring, and the doctor's trying to get in the cage. Right, it's a cage, right? So it's not like just the ring, just to get into the cage. So it's a female doctor, and she's rattling the door, trying to get the door open, but the door is locked. The key is back over to Timekeepers, which is over the complete opposite side of the ring. So they go over, get the key, they come back. She comes in the cage. Now, this is obviously taking a lot of time. So Edge, being the pro that he is keeping the cameraman busy. So he's going under the ring, taking out dustbins, taking out all this shit, just so they have something to film while they're trying to deal with me. So I'm over at the edge of the ring, and I go to the doctor and say, how bad is it? She says, oh, it's bad. I'm going to have to staple it. I said, all right, well, what are you waiting for? So she pulls out the staple gun, right? So she pulls out the staple gun. She pulls out the staple gun. She goes, oh, it's fucking empty. There's no staples in it, right? So then her assistant has to run out of the cage, back around the cage to where the medical bag is, back in the door of the cage. She loads it up, and she goes, all right, you ready? But now the cameras are on me, right? Because they're just shooting in case there's something for the network. It's not like going on live, but they're shooting it. And I'm aware that the cameras are there. I'm saying, fuck, I better stay in character here. So I'm like looking at the doctor in the eyes with the paint and all the blood dripping out, and going, staple it. So she starts getting scared, right? So she goes, pap one. She goes, does that hurt? I said, no, it's fine. Just keep going. It's just pap two, just pap three, just pap four. She goes, ow. I go, what happened? She goes, I put the fourth staple in my finger. I said, are you serious? Am I closed? She goes, well, you're closed for now. I said, can I go back to work? And she goes, yeah, go back to work. So I go back into the ring. We finish the match. There's only 3 staples in my head at this point, one in her finger. We finish the match, and I get back, and Yeah, we do the match anyway. It's great crack. And I remember the 1, 2, 3 happens, and I know my wife's ringside, right? And I know she's going to be bricking it, going like, "Well,
Yeah.
is he all right?" So I roll out of the ring, and I go straight to the doctor. The doctor's like kind of linking my arms to kind of carry me back, and it's a long fucking walk back. Not only from the ring to the curtain, but then from the curtain to the locker room. And I'm thinking like, oh, it's going to be like 20 minutes. I'm going to get to my phone to text me missus. So I'm literally walking through the crowd back to the backstage on the doctor's phone, texting me missus going, yeah, I'm all right. Like, don't worry.
Love that, man. Love
Unbelievable.
that.
What a fucking story. That is unbelievable.
And also,
and all a WrestleMania moment, like.
Yeah.
I know. And like, I remember like me and the missus were in the car on the way back to the hotel afterwards. And like we stopped off and got In-N-Out Burger. We're having In-N-Out Burger.
Yes,
great
man.
night. And she goes, you are so lucky motherfucker, aren't you? And I go, what do you mean? And she goes, well, you just look like the toughest son of a bitch on WrestleMania. You got your head smashed open in a cage. But like, you've not got an injury. You've not got a concussion. You've not got anything you have to rehab. Like, you can go back to work like tomorrow. I go, I know, I fucking looked out. And like, it was such a, you can't plan for that type of shit, Like, and we're here trying to like build this match and we want to do it this way and this way and this way. And no, you can't do it this way. You can do it a different way. And like having this big negotiation beforehand. And you don't ever think of like the things that you don't anticipate to happen are going to make the match, And it was like something that was completely an accident, spontaneous, whatever happened because the universe wanted it to happen, whatever way you want to look at it. But like, it was nothing that we had planned or hoped to do that made that like moment, it just fucking happened, So it was,
I love the fact that even with all that going on, you had the presence of mind to do the sweet thing, to be like a good husband and to like be like, get your phone, need to text my wife. As someone who has literally put the shopping in the car and drove off and got home before I realised my wife's not in the car. Do you know what I mean? That's another level of standard you're setting me.
Yeah, no, I was just worried about her because I don't know, she was just there by herself with like a couple of the other, people's friends or whatever. Some of her family were there, and I just thought like, oh, I wonder if she's dead worried because I think everyone else was more worried than me, and I just didn't want her to be worried. And I thought like, it could be like 30 minutes again. I get the text or so. She used the doc's phone, easy peasy. I was glad I remembered her number because it's the only number I know off the top of my head.
It's again flashbacks there beyond the mat when Foley falls off the cell and he's being escorted back by the doctors, and he's like, "Tell my wife I'm all right." And his wife's like, the kids are like, "Are we still going to Disney, Dad?" Chaps after falling off the cell.
Believe it or not, I worked very closely with Dewey as a writer in NXT on my second run. He was a writer there, and he was a fantastic writer, and I really loved working with him, and we developed a great relationship. And he's someone that I hope comes back to the company because he's a good dude, and so is Mick. Obviously, like I'm incredibly fond of Mick. But no, his son, like, it was cool because we all seen him in Beyond the Mat as like this little worried kid, and then like I'm writing promos with him. Like, what a story he has, like growing up in the business, seeing his dad like be a superstar, and then like getting to transition into the business, which is kind of similar to Dominic as well, like
Yeah, that's meant. What is the collaboration like with writing with the writing team? You often hear from the dirt sheets, you always hear of negative stories and nightmare stories where talent don't get their point across, and I suppose a lot of your peers in the last 6 or 7 months have kind of said how it has done a full circle and that experience is way more open door policy. Have you had good, more pleasant experiences with writing collaborations?
I feel like it could be two factors, right? It could be like, there's definitely been a difference from when I started to now, and there's obviously a difference in the writing team and who's writing the show. So like Hunter's a little bit more, I want to say, like laid back with the verbiage versus Vince would want you to hit these specific words, like, and you had to hit these words. So it could be that, and it could also be like self-confidence. because like maybe when I started, I wouldn't have the self-confidence to say to the writer that I was working with, hey, I would never say this. Like, let me use a word that I would use back in Bray, not like this weird American word, like, so it could be a little bit of both, but I've definitely, like, in the last, pretty much since I went back to NXT the second time, I've had a lot more leeway and freedom and input into what I'm actually saying than like just being given the script and go read that word for word. And that's the way it was at the beginning. Like, I was literally like memorizing the whole thing exactly the way the sentence was structured, not even like changing the structure of the same sentence that meant the same thing. I was like, you'd say like, oh, I went down to the shops and I bought a carton of milk, right? But this would be like, I needed to buy cartons of milk, so I went to the shops. Like, it's the same thing, but like it's just not, it wouldn't flow off the tongue as well. So it's harder to remember, and then you're stumbling and you're not confident, like executing the promo. So I think it's helped me a lot, like being able to just like restructure, because the way we structure sentences, like being from like Dublin area to like someone from Cincinnati area, is going to be completely different, right? And even someone from Galway is going to like structure a sentence different. So like if you have someone writing for you, they should really only be writing like the story points, but not like the sentences, basically, like, hey, so now when they give me the promos, it's pretty much in bullet points that like I've told them, just give me the bullet points and I'll get all those bullet points in, but I'll say it the way I would say it. And that helps a lot. But then that's another skill you have to learn, because then you have to like, and that's another thing you have to deal with on the day. Not only are you like warming up and preparing for a physical contest and a match that, like, you have to hit your times for, you're also like given this, paragraph of storyline that you have to like rewrite in a way that like Finn would say it, like, because Brian, who's one of the writers that I work with now, like he's written it and he has a good gauge on my voice, but it's still never going to be exactly. And I just say, oh no, what if I put like flip them there and flip them there? And he goes, oh yeah, perfect. And then it's easier for me to remember. So it's just like trying to just make things more Fergal and less like corporate WWE, It's just kind of like translating what they want into my voice to tell you.
That freedom must come then with like you said, like, because you touched on earlier where you were saying that kind of piece around like that bit of self-doubt, but that freedom then to be able to express yourself and say like, that's not how I'd say it, man. I'm gonna say it this way, and then you get
and it might,
it.
And it might also be like the office also building up trust in you and trusting you to do it right. So it's probably like a two-way street, and I think you just have to go through those like learning curves to kind of get to where you are now. And that's probably why a lot of lads say, oh, the writing team this and they said that, and because they're at the beginning of their journey and they're just starting to deal with this and they haven't figured it all out yet. I think it's very easy to like speak negatively on anything, where you should really just try and like look at it like a little deeper and go like, hang on, like this writer is just trying to do his job for the senior writer, and like he's getting shit from him. Just be a little more understanding of everyone, I think, what people need to do.
No, that applies to many things.
Yeah, absolutely. I find the bullet point thing quite interesting, because when you listen to a lot of the legends and they talk about back in their day, it's like the Uncle Albert from Only Fields and Horses back in their day, we did this and that. But they did talk about bullet points. And in the last year or so, like I've watched a lot more of the product than I have in previous years. Now I'd always keep an eye on it, but in the last maybe 2 years, I'd say, it even comes across that it perhaps bullet pointed as opposed to verbatim script, if that makes sense. Like you're watching it and it actually comes across better. And I even think, going to the physicality, some of the matches that I've watched in the last year or whatever, do you remember that era in the kind of mid-90s on Monday Night Raw where the matches were actually excellent? You'd have like random Shawn Michaels versus Owen Hart, or you'd have random deadly TV matches. I feel like that's the case nowadays as well in the last maybe 15 months or so.
Yeah, well, I feel like we have to get the ratings, you know, and we're also really fucking good at what we're doing. So like, why aren't they a good match? Like, we're going out there having a match, but it's just really good because we're really good at what we're doing. And it's just a byproduct of like who's in the ring that the matches are really good. It's not like we're going out, oh, let's have a fucking banger tonight, like, or let's call it in tonight. No, we're going out there every night, like, to have the best match I can have every single night. And like, the only thing that kind of limits you sometimes is the times, because that's the one thing like you've no control over, is the times on the TV show, especially. Like, I'm sure I was explaining to you lads before, but like, you know, I might go out there and say a 2-seg match. That means like, when we come back from commercial, it's a segment until the next commercial, right? And then you'll go to commercial halfway through the match. We'll work through that 3 minutes, 15 seconds of commercials. We'll come back, and then the next segment of TV, which is until the next segment, or until the next commercial break. That's your match has to be in that entire time, right? So just say it's a 6 minute and an 8 minute segment, right? So when we come back on the 6 minute seg, I'm walking to the ring, but the person that was on before me went 2 minutes heavy. So then my 6 minutes has become 4 minutes. And now I'm getting told this as I'm stepping in the ring. There's already a minute gone because I've done my entrance. So now the referee comes over to me and he says, hey, you've got 3 minutes to break. Where in my mind, when I was walking out there, I had 5. So now I'm thinking like, all right, what do I have to edit out of the match to still get to the end of the seg, which is called a break spot, where we have to create distance between the competitors. So Michael Cole can say, what's going to happen when we come back? Stay tuned. Finn Bálor versus Kevin Owens or whatever, blah, 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 right? And we go to break. And then, like, when we go to break, like, the lads are in the back crunching the times, going, how long was that segment? Oh, shit. Instead of going 4 minutes, he went 4 minutes 35 because that took a little extra to show the replay. So now we only have 7 minutes 25 on the last seg. So then, like, they're doing the calculations in the back. They tell the referee. The referee's coming over talking to me during the break saying, hey, we're coming back live on TV in 1 minute. Meanwhile, there's 20,000 people still watching the match. So I'm having to keep them engaged and do stuff to keep them engaged so that when we come back live on TV, they're cheering, because you don't want everyone just sitting on their hands, like, because then it's not exciting TV. So when we come back live on, like, the referees count me down, 3, 2, 1, we're back live. And then the action's starting again, ba, 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 the crowd are fucking cheering. And then I know, okay, I got 7 minutes, 25 seconds to get to the 1, 2, 3, but I need to leave a minute to show the replays and raise his arm or my arm, whoever won. So you're constantly doing like calculations in your brain while you're performing, right? So, but when you do this for 10 years, you get so good at it, right? And that's the difference with like lads like Seth, Roman, you know, Shinsuke, Cody, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, right? They're at the elite level and they're doing these adjustments and people don't even know. And like, we're talking to each other, we're adjusting, we're changing a match on the fly, we're doing things that we haven't spoken about in the back. And it's just, it's really just like, I don't think people understand how skilled you have to be able to do that on live television.
Awesome.
Like, it's live television.
Live television, unbelievable.
Yeah, live television, like 18 to 20,000 people watching live in the seats there, and like referee basically telling you different times non-stop. It's
like that's
there's so like whatever about the skill of knowing how to do a headlock and hit the ropes and make it look all smooth and realistic. Then when you add that in, like, people have no idea.
Oh,
but then when we go to the house shows, there's none of that. So that's why there's such a different feel with the house shows, because now I'm not under a time crunch person. Like, you know, they'll say, hey, try and do it in 20 minutes because we don't want the show to be fucking 6 hours long, right? So they'll give you a guideline. But now I can just like say slam Cody, and now I can go and like stand on the top corner and shout, hey, Mero, you dickhead, I'm gonna come out there and like kill you, right? Hey, Danny, what are you gonna do, right? And everyone's like giving it socks. So like, it's two different types of styles, and that's kind of the WWE house show is more like the UK independent scene, right? Like, so it's two completely different styles. So that's why it's very hard when you take someone straight out of the indies into WWE, because there's the wrestling they can do, but they need to learn where the cameras are, the times, the referees listen to instructions, adapt and changing things on the fly. And yeah, that's kind of the difference with what makes you like a WWE superstar and a pro wrestler.
But like that's just so fascinating. Like all the stuff about live TV, and even like when you think of it as well, like say the demon persona and the demon entrance as well, you know, that's live television. Or most recently, like the Wyatt Six debut 2 weeks ago, that's live television. What they pulled off,
live, yeah,
that's shot live in front of 20,000 people. Like you're watching it going, what the fuck?
My wife works in TV, right? She works for Telemundo. She used to work for Fox, and she's in live broadcasting all the time, and she cannot understand how WWE pull it off every single week. And it's not every single week in the same studio.
Yeah,
it's every single week in a different fucking city, in a different arena. So the crew arrive on a Sunday night. If it's a Raw, just say it's Raw. They arrive on a Sunday night. They load everything in. Every single piece of equipment they've brought in. Every screen, every light, every camera, the tables, the mats, the ring, the walls, the barricade, the ramp. Everything has come out of a truck. There's about 54 or 60 trucks, right, with all the wrestlers' pictures on it. They just roll into the city. They all park up. All the crew rip everything out. They set everything up. They've been there all night. I get there, whatever, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They're just tightening the screws and the ropes, you know. And then like we do the show, and at 11 o'clock, show ends. 11:15, like whatever the person's waving off goodbye on the show, and the lads are ripping it all down, putting it back in the truck, and off to the next city.
Yeah, it's just mad.
It's bananas, like the scale of
That is absolutely insane. You mentioned Dominic Mysterio there a minute ago, man, and I feel like being around when, like, because the whole heel thing and all that, and Dominic is like a heat magnet. Like that has to be great crack to be a part. Like that when you're talking about 20,000 people and he's getting booed out of the building, like there has to be a part that's sitting back on. This is fucking great.
It's unbelievable. So like little backstory, the night that Ray came back to WWE was like the Royal Rumble a couple of years ago, maybe like 2019 or something. And I had done like almost an hour in the Rumble that night. And it was my job to eliminate Ray. And like everyone was cheering me. And then like Ray comes in, blah, 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 blah. And I took him out and everyone goes, boo. And I thought like, why did they book me to eliminate Ray? That was stupid, you know? But anyway, we go back into the locker room afterwards, and Ray's got Dominic in the locker room with him. And that was the first time I met Ray, and he'd introduced me to Dominic. And he says, Finn, like Dominic's starting his journey now with Lance. And if you ever get a chance to work with him in the future, I'd be so grateful. Like, if you can help him, you know? And I said, yeah, of course. Like, but you never think that it's going to lead to what it fucking led to, right? But then like I start doing the thing with the Judgment Day, and then it's kind of Ray and Dom, and the idea is to eventually turn Dom heel. And I thought like, this is gonna be like me and Damien's job to kind of help Dom. And then I remember like Dom came in and he turned heel, whatever it was, in Cardiff. And it was its first big promo, and like we're all backstage at Raw going out there. And I remember like going up to him and said, I remember what Ray said, like, take care of Dom, like look out for him as best as you can. I'm gonna I respect Ray so much that like I'm gonna do this for Ray, you know. So I remember going up to Dom and say, hey mate, you all right? He goes, yeah, I'm all right. He says, do you want to like go over what you're gonna say and with me, like before you go out there, just like, you know, to get your confidence? And he said, no, I'm good. I said, do you know what you're gonna say? And I said, nah, I'll figure it out when I'm out there. I was like, fuck, this is gonna go bad, right? I'm thinking like, oh no, what am I in for? And like we go out there and he just starts to raise the mic. It's like, boo. And I'm like, holy shit. And like here's me like naively thinking that like Dominic's supposed to be like me and Damien and Rhea are supposed to be helping Dominic, but in reality, it's Dominic helping us get heat. and making us more of a believable heel unit, because like people still kind of wanted to cheer for me. They weren't sure about Damien, real super cool, so they're always going to cheer for her anyway. So like we were kind of like fighting an uphill battle. And then like Dominic just comes in and it's just like mic drop, see you later, boos out the window. And we were all like kind of guilty by association, like being bad guys because we're friends with Dom. So it really worked out like so beautifully that like he helped us just as much as kind of like we were supposed to help him, I think, you know.
So did Lance Storm train Dominic?
I think he spent 2 months up there with Lance, and he was pretty much trained on the job. I think he done like 2 months like fundamentals with Lance, and then it was pretty much straight to Raw, and he learned like on the fly. Like he learned in front of your eyes in that what was it called? I think in COVID, the Thunderdome. Like, I think he made his debut in the Thunderdome, and like they were like his first matches. Like he hadn't had like indie matches. He'd done a little training, but he basically is an anomaly where he learned what he's doing now on live television, which is the hardest thing you can do. And I don't think anything will phase him ever again in his life, because he went through that. And I don't think he was even phased when he was, and I don't think he was even phased when he was going through it. And it could be like this Gen Z thing where he just doesn't give a fuck about anything anyway. Like, you know, so I just don't relate, right? Like last week, after we won the tag team titles, me and JD and Damien were having a bit of crack, and then Dom walks in, and for some reason it was a bunch of oranges, you know, and someone said like, "Oh, can anyone juggle?" I said, "I can juggle 3," you know, so I was juggling 3, going like this, and like Dom's like looking at me. He goes, "Oh, I want to fucking learn how to do that." And I said, "Yeah, you just like do this and you throw that one and you move that," and I'm trying to explain it. And when I look over, he's not even looking at me. He's in his phone on YouTube watching a tutorial video, right? Like it's just Gen Z. Like this, all they do is they just like, how do I do that? I just ask YouTube, you know, just boom. And then all of a sudden, like 5 minutes later, he's like starting to get like 2 or 3 like juggles going. I thought like, it's a different world than what I grew up in.
It is.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of storytelling and storylines, obviously since Triple H has taken over, you know, your peers and fans alike have obviously noticed the longevity of storylines and the payoff of such storylines. Like I always reflect on the Big Show saying one time, I think he turned heel babyface about 7 times in 2 months. 1 week he was heel, 1 week he was babyface. The Judgment Day, or as Danny likes to call them, the Judgment Bray. I mean, this is a phenomenal story that probably in a previous time would probably only last about 4 or 5 months. But I can see the Judgment Day being like one of your creations, like the Bullet Club, and it potentially still surviving with new faces and new talent. Is that how things are going now from Triple H to say Vince?
It definitely seems to be a longer storyline arc for sure, and there seems to be more possibilities built into the story, whereas like things might happen today on the show that go nowhere. Like just say I like give like Damien a side eye or something, like, but that gets people thinking, right? And then if we do that a couple times, and then we do decide to go to me and Damien like wrestling each other, just say in a year's time, then we have all that footage to show like this storyline was actually longer. So it's basically just like layering the promos with like lots of different possibilities that like you're not just going one direction. It's easy to like pivot and turn and go to like Finn versus Damien, or no, people aren't really going to buy that. Let's go to the Damien versus Dominic. And there's like ways of like weaving it. And I think that kind of started with the Bloodline stuff. And I think now it's like Bloodline 2.0 is like Judgment Day. And like I hope it can continue. I think it's been 2 years now, and I thought it was kind of starting to teeter off there, kind of in like the couple of weeks after Mania. I thought like, I'm not sure how long this has got left. And then it seems to have just got like R-Truth coming in, like gave it another like inject. That was like right before WrestleMania. That's when I thought like, it's starting to teeter off. And R-Truth came in and gave it like a little shot in the arse, and then like after Mania again, there was like another thing with Liv, and just it's so interesting that like you can spend so much time trying to perfect like the fundamentals of wrestling and the techniques of wrestling, and then like you walk into the mall or something, and like a mother comes up to you and say like, what's happening between Rhea and Liv? Like it's not like they're not like, how did you do that headlock so good? It's so weird. So like even from like what I fell in love with has changed. Like I'm not doing what I fell in love with, but it's like something that's completely different, and like it's new for me. I'm learning it, and it's super fun, and like the wrestling's still fun. And now I'm like doing this other thing with the backstage promos and stuff, which we're getting to have. There's such a good dynamic because the group is really well like layered with like Damien and Rhea are clearly like friends, and then like me and JD are clearly friends, and there's this thing with Rhea and Dom that like nobody really knows what's going on. But then like Dom, is he cheating with Liv? And then like how does Finn feel about that? How does Damien feel about that? JD's probably going to side with Finn all the time. Like it's just there's just so many options to like tell like a story with like so many different characters, you know?
It's great.
And then Carlito's just giving great facial expressions to everything.
Yeah.
It's great though that you were saying there about the little story, the arcs and stuff like that, because obviously as an eagle eye like me sometimes, like in the last year or two, me and Danny constantly send audio notes and we're like, where are they going to go with this? And Danny be like, I love that, we don't know, and they keep us guessing. And it's been years since we've been acting like that. Like we're well into our late 30s, like. But I noticed as well with the Judgment Day Clubhouse, the old demon lunchbox in the background.
Yeah, man.
So like that's but that's stuff that like we're doing that ourselves, but like that's not written in the script, right? So like people are seeing that and going, oh fuck, the demon's coming, that's a sign the demon's coming. But a lot of this stuff is just like spontaneous. Like for example, that demon lunchbox, that was a gift from the guy who helped me do the paint at WrestleMania, right? And he brought that full of drinks and stuff, right? And he said, no, it's for you, you know? So it's just been in the props truck. And then when we set up the clubhouse, I said, there's a fucking demon thing in the props truck, let's get it. So like then we have it like on the set, and then like we put like little Rey Mysterio's figure with like I'm a deadbeat dad, and that was just like Dom just brought that one day, and then it just became a thing. Like so, a lot of that stuff is like not improvised, but it's just like it's not written in the script. We're just adding things in to spice it up a little bit, you know.
Or even like sometimes
no, because it gets people talking, you know, and I'll never forget, like when I realized this about like people are more into trying to figure out the story than actually watching the story, was when JD had just debuted. I was doing the thing with AJ and Liv, and JD was leaving the arena doing like a promo or something, like saying, oh, I'll be back next week or whatever. And I'm like way off up, like on this ramp, like in the background watching. And I remember like more people tweeted me about me watching JD's promo than any of my matches for like the last 3 months, right? Like I was like, oh, right there, they're more into like just seeing me in the background than seeing me in the ring. So like, what's going on here? So then like now, like when you look at Twitter, like if there's a promo and I make like a side eye or look at anyone, like people are screen grabbing it and going, oh, he's not happy with Dom because look at the way he looked at Dom. Or, you know, like, I don't know if you guys even seen like last Monday where me and Damien got bumped into each other, and then we had this set beat us up or whatever, and we're walking backstage, and I lean down on the case and go, oh, I'm in bits, whatever, and he says, oh, I'll go get you some ice, and he goes to give me the pound, and I literally just didn't see it, so it looks like I left him hanging, but that was completely spontaneous, like because we'd said, like we kind of like we'd done the thing in the ring, and then it was like literally like 90 seconds later was the thing in the backstage. We come back through the curtain. It's like, you say this, I'll say this, blah blah blah, and then you say you go get me some ice, and I'll just stay there like selling. But like we give each other the pound. It's like, yeah, give each other the pound. But then so much was happening, and then we were live, and I'm like, I just forgot to give him the pound. But now it's like left it open. Finn's not happy. He left him hanging, you know, and that was just a complete coincidence. So like. You kind of have to,
though, isn't it?
So like when things like that happen, like that's where you kind of have to kind of like go with them and kind of It kind of leaves it open, and it's not so, you know, Danny's facing Graham next week. It's not like Danny hates Graham. It's like, does he hate Graham? Does he not? I think they're friends. They have a history. Maybe he's going to turn his back on him. Like, you know, and that's what gets people talking, not like, here's the story, take it, like it or don't. Like, you know, and it's more like, now it's more like people kind of have to figure it out as they go along, and it's more there's more left up to your imagination than like just force feeding you like it was in the past, I think.
I feel like that meme, and you know, from like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he has all the little things on the map and he's trying to plot it out. Do you ever see that meme? That's what it's like, because like, because even now you're talking about it, and like if you rewind even a couple of months when Damian Priest was still senior Money in the Bank and whatever, and that first briefcase, and you know that was the whole. Everyone was like, "Oh, Finn and Damian, Finn, there's tension, Finn and Damian."
Yeah.
You know, then Damian cashes in. It's all good again, and now we're seeing it bubble up, and it's straight away people are back to, oh, what's happening? Yeah, like, so it is. It's that the gossip, right? It's the juice, isn't it? That's what people want.
Yeah,
People love it. Like,
yeah,
but
it's like, a little bit of drama, you know.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it's like in a 3-hour show, a 3-hour show and live television production. Like you said, you know, it's the way you've laid it out. I never thought of it like the way you laid it out, and it's kind of going, geez, the appreciation levels are going through the roof even more. But like even now in the last year or so, like even the live crowd, so you have gone something like 40 live dates sold out. TV dates sold out in a row or something like that. But even the low to mid carders are getting a great pop or a great reaction. Like look at the build for the Chad Gable stuff. I mean, when him and Otis and all were Little Alpha Academy kind of getting to mid, but they were getting huge live show reactions, and everything just feels like it's more like, even with the Y at 6, everyone's like Danny said, trying to pin it together. Nikki Cross was in the background of a Finn promo. What's the story there? You know, it's fucking deadly. Like I'm loving it now again. But in the last 2 years with the Judgment Day, you've done so much. The live shows, the live crowds that you've experienced, and Puerto Rico was just fucking bonkers. War Games. Talk to us about War Games. Like, what a match itself. And then you had the returns of Randy Orton and the supposed unexpected return of CM Punk. That must have been a fucking mad night.
I'd forgotten about that one, to be honest with you. When you started talking about Puerto Rico, I just started like remembering that night. Like that was bananas, the crowd down there. And like people talk about the crowd in France. I think it was a Backlash. They were great, but it was a very different great. Like the crowd in France like just wanted to cheer, right? So which is great, but it wasn't as like raw as it was in Puerto Rico. Like that was emotion in Puerto Rico. Like they were dying to watch wrestling. Like it was real. It wasn't like France almost felt like organized. Like they were a unified crowd. I think they got together on a chat board and like they said, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. I think that's really what happened. And then whereas Puerto Rico is the same intensity, but it was just like a different kind of energy because it wasn't organized, just like savages, like wanting blood, you know. And there was so much fun on that card too. And like it was more just like a fun show, like a feel good show, right? It wasn't like, oh, you have to follow the rules, you have to follow the 4 count, you have to follow all this crap, like, you know, this makeup rules that we made up ourselves, basically, like, you know, just pants, like boxing ourselves in. So that's what kind of made that show so much more fun. But yeah, the crowds have been like better than I've ever expected. Like I think when I started like 10 years ago, it was like 25% capacity. I think like most shows, like if we were at like 30-40%, like, oh shit, that's a good house tonight. Like, you know, and now it's like 100% sold out. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah. So like, yeah, and like you never want to take that shit for granted, like, you know, because like I remember wrestling in front of 15 people in our club, and I remember wrestling in front of, you know, a 25% capacity, like 20,000 seater stadium, which feels equally as empty, right? Like when you put 15 people in the GAA hall, or you put say 5,000 in a basketball stadium, it feels equally as awkward, right? And like, not awkward, but it's like it's very personal, and like you hear people's chairs squeaking and moving like in between the spots and shit, you know, like you have someone in the headlock, you see someone, oh, I'm going for a piss or something, you know. but and now it's just like, whoa, you can't even hear yourself think, you know, so it's great.
Love it, man. Love it.
Yeah, but the crowds are down to like, I think obviously like the storylines have been great, but the business, I feel like since Nick Khan came in, like he's had such an impact on the business that like I pretty much feel like when he came in was when like the crowd started going up and up and up, and it's down to like I think a lot of like the business decisions and contracts he's been setting up with different media outlets and stuff like that, and getting us different exposure that has helped a lot.
Definitely,
and
man.
God knows what's gonna happen. God knows what's gonna happen when this like Netflix.
Will you get it? Will you get a PPV in Dublin?
I would love it, man. I would love it, but they're called PLEs now. You got to get your words straight.
Oh, Mero, get with the terminology, man.
I say PLE. I don't know why I said PPV. I was trying to be cool.
I still say PPV as well, pay-per-view. But
he's going everywhere. Like what seems to be happening is that you're building a roster of talent from kind of all, like, say, Scotland with Drew and Piper, and you know, there's yourself, there's Sheamus, there's Becky, there's JD, there's Lyra. I mean, that homecoming would be sensational.
It would, yeah. And no, I think it's something that's going to happen eventually. Like I don't think there's any like set dates right now, but definitely the way things have been going with the amount of overseas stuff, the fact that we've wanted to do a like takeover in Dublin before. Like if it's not an NXT takeover, I'm sure it'll be like one of our pay-per-views. I'll get to Dublin eventually, but they're also like, it's also a business, and like maybe it's not financially as attractive for the company because like for example, now the company's so profitable that like cities are making bids for WWE to come, you know. So it's not like we're saying like, can we rent your building? It's like literally like Chicago, for example, saying like, we'll pay you $2 million to come and do your show in our city. So it's like now they're probably gonna lean more with going to a city that wants to pay than if Dublin doesn't want to pay. Then it's like whatever. So WWE obviously is in a great spot, but that might not be productive to set up a show in Dublin, sadly. Like unless someone in Dublin, the Dublin County Council are willing to say, no, yeah, we'll foot the bill to, you know, fill Crow Park. You know, you lads fill Crow Park. We'll sell all the hotels. We'll get all the taxis and the restaurants and the trains and the buses will all get a boost. And we'll bring your show, or we'll bring our show. You know, like so it's kind of like it's a deal now. Like it's not like we're just coming to do a wrestling show and like hopefully make a few bob. It's very much like an international like tourist attraction almost.
Absolutely, man. I'm conscious of your time, Ferg. So two quick ones.
Well, I got as much time as you need, boys.
Love it. I'm throwing one in selfishly, right? Because what I've noticed over the last little while is the footwear in wrestling has gone off the charts, man. And you've got custom Jordans to beat on a fucking love it. Those white and purple ones.
Yeah.
Love it, man. Love it. Where did this happen? Where did this come from? Like,
I don't know. So I'd always worn amateur wrestling shoes, and most lads wore like pro wrestling boots. And I'd only worn, so like my whole career, like I started with like, they call them shooter shoes, right? Or amateur wrestling shoes. And then I'd wore those my whole career through England. First 3 years in Japan, I wore them. Then I said, you know what, I'm going to try these pro wrestling boots. And I wore pro wrestling boots for a week in Japan. And I was slipping all over the ring. There's no grip. And there's no like, there's no technology in a fucking shoe that a cobbler makes, right? Now, like, I know it's a skill, but like, he's not putting cushioning and arches and like curves so I can like turn and cut, right? So like, they're the most unpractical shoe for an athletic contest, right? So I'm thinking like, I'm not fucking wearing these. So then I started in NXT, still wearing like amateur wrestling shoes. And then Bill DeMott, the head coach at the time, said, no, you got to train in these wrestling boots because if Vince wants you to wear wrestling boots, you have to be able to wrestle in wrestling boots. And I thought, what the fuck am I in for here? Like, Jesus Christ. So I ended up having to buy a pair of wrestling boots, and I wore them for like a week in training. And then like we're at like an NXT show, and like this was kind of like one of the first times I was with like Triple H, you know, and having like in-depth conversations with him, and I just said, like, dude, like, they're making me train in these like wrestling boots that are super uncomfortable. I work in shooter shoes. Like, why can't I just fucking wrestle in my shooter shoes? I said, dude, wrestle with them wherever the fuck you want. So like, a lot of the times it's like, he said that you should do this, but like, he may have said it like 8 months ago, and he just said it on a whim and he forgot about it straight away. Like, so a lot of these rules are just kind of like, they're just made up by someone, and you just gotta like crumple them up and make your own rules. So I think people started to figure that out, that like, hey, it's not as important to wear like pro wrestling boots as people think. And then I remember I was always in these shooter shoes that are like had no sole in them, right? And then I'm getting to Raw, and all these lads like Drew and Sheamus and everyone have all got these like pro wrestling boots, but they've all got a big thick sole on them. So it's all giving them like an extra inch or inch and a half, you know, of height. And I'm thinking, like, all these bastards are huge already, and now they're looking even bigger. And I'm actually doing myself a disservice because I'm going from Air Max in my street clothes to like a shooter shoe, which is like no, like the Air Max might have a centimeter and a half or something, right? On the sole to the shooter shoes got 0. So then I'm like, I'm lowering myself, and they're hiring themselves. What the fuck? I just want to wrestle runners. So I started. There's like that Noble. They're like a CrossFit shoe. I said, you know what? I'm going to see what those CrossFit shoes look like under my kick pads, because I still wanted to wear my kick pads and stuff. And so I started wearing them. I thought, like, oh, this isn't too bad, you know. And it's a lot more comfortable, and I had more grip. And like, do you know what another thing is like wearing those shooter shoes for 8 hours backstage, your feet are wrecked.
Oh yeah.
Just like you're walking around your bare feet for like 8 hours, and walking from the locker room to the set, to the ring, to the production office, to the whatever, like, you know. So you're doing like 20,000 steps before you even get in the ring in these shooter shoes, right? So you're wrecked. So like my feet would be in bits like on a Tuesday and Wednesday, just destroyed. So I said, I'm going to start wearing these ones with like a bit better sole. And then when I turned heel, I just said, you know, fuck it, I've got a pair of, I bought like a pair of Jordan, like just plain black Air Jordan mids, like years and years ago. And they're just sitting in the closet, and I never worn them. I said, you know what, I'm going to fucking see what they look like with my gear. And I just whacked them on, and that was it.
Love it.
And and I was just wearing the plain black ones for a while, and then I'm friends with a guy whose business is customizing shoes, and he'd done it for me in the past. I'd done like Balor Club shoes just for like media appearances, and he reached out and said, "Dude, you wearing Jordans in the ring now?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Let me have a shot at that. Let me see what I can do." And he sent me a pair, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And so now, like, yeah, anytime there's a big show, like we'll communicate. We'll figure out what we're gonna do. I feel spoiled. Like, I feel spoiled. Shout out to Mash, because I think it's Mash Customs on Instagram and Twitter, and he does like a lot of like American football cleats for all these like American football superstars.
Yeah,
and I think he's just like throwing me a bone, like, here's all Finn, here's a pair of Jordans for you. You know, took him 5 minutes, but no, they're unbelievable, and I think they add such a different level of coolness, kind of like street, man. You know, yeah. And then I think it's also important, like, not to wear something that like people can buy like on the street. Like, I think that kind of separates kind of you being like a normal dude to being like a superstar, like in people's minds, you know.
Yeah, a big time. And I think that's like the custom element is just, it's such a cool touch, and it just elevates it that little, because look, they're cool sneakers, right? They look class, they you know, they suit it, but then the fact they're custom, and the fact that you can't just walk into your Foot Locker or your whatever, it's like, man.
Yeah, I think I think Kofi Kingston needs a shout out as well for like kind of helping usher in like the sneaker the sneaker culture in WWE, because I think he was one of the first people actually that was actually just wearing straight like street shoes like in the ring. So he deserves the credit for that too.
Definitely, man.
Ferg, I'm interested in you said about your time and your visa situation. You missed the Rumble, you missed Mania, and you were questioning things. Almost like, I mean, it's mad to me, because you're such a superstar that around the world that it sounds like a bit of imposter syndrome. And in terms of, I think that's a trait with most Irish people, in their collective kind of profession, whatever profession they go down, are they good enough to, you know, that type of thing. I'm interested in, because there's quite a lot of tribalism in professional wrestling in the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm interested in
last 30 years.
Yeah, probably last 30 years, but ever since a second kind of main company came along, that tribalism seems to, AEW came along, that tribalism within the fans. Like, I'd often have conversations with my brother in regards to, he'd be like, oh, did you see what Nash said today in the podcast? See what Taker said? And I'm like, Carl, these are American capitalists. They're in it for themselves. I'm interested in how an Irish person who's modest, who's, you know, level-headed, how does, are you aware of that, and how do you deal with it?
I'm very aware of it. First of all, I despise tribalism. Like, I think it's important to have an identity, but to hate on another person's beliefs, I think, is foolish. I think we should try and like understand and appreciate that everyone has like differences, not only in tastes but in everything. And the fact that, like, I think we spoke about this the last time I was talking to you lads, like, when I was coming up in Ireland, in Bray, with a little wrestling gym, and there was like a little wrestling gym in Dublin as well that had just opened up. And we were supposed to hate each other because we're different gyms from like 15 miles apart. I'm thinking, like, hang on a second, we're in a country with like 3.5 million people or something at the time, and there's 20 lads in Bray and there's 20 lads in Dublin, and they love the same thing, they want the same thing, they have the same ambition, they have the same dream, but instead of uniting their resources, they're dividing their resources and like and picking on each other and throwing shade on each other. It just makes no sense to me at all. And I actually fell out with some of the NWA Ireland lads at the time because of this principle that I had. And I actually went to wrestle for AEW to try and show people, hey, we can wrestle for both. Like, and I was running what's it called? NWA Ireland at the time, not AEW. I was running. I'll never be running AEW, but I was running NWA Ireland at the time, and I thought, like, this is a good thing for me to like show the lads that, hey, we can cooperate, not like hate each other and like try and rip each other down. We should try and build each other up. So that's kind of my feeling with regards tribalism. But what was the other part of the question?
I was just I guess, like, I'm quite, Danny will probably give me stick, but I'm an unrepentant socialist. I believe in for everybody. So just in North America, I always feel with the American wrestlers, even the retired lads, the veterans, they kind of seem to be in it for themselves a bit. And
so listen, right?
How do you handle that?
I'm very aware that to make money in America, in this capitalist society, actually globally, is you have to say things that are controversial so that people react to it, right, in a positive or a negative. And I know that if I was to say controversial things, that I would be more successful, I would be more popular, I would have more followers, I would have more money, I would have more fame. But I'm not willing to sacrifice my dignity and my integrity to talk shit about people. Like, why would I talk shit about people? Like, it's just talking about negative things. It's not like gonna benefit me like personally anyway, other than like financially, which I'm not. I'm not doing this for, like, obviously I get paid, but I'm not willing to sacrifice my dignity to like throw shade on someone. I'd rather just like not mention them, because that's shade enough as it is. Like, I'm not gonna rise that shit. So like, you know, I'm not even going to mention any names on, but it's mostly guys that are just trying to stay in the limelight that are wanting to talk. And I can promise you lads right now that when I retire, if I ever do interviews after that, I won't be coming on saying, this lad's shit, that lad can't do this. Like, I'll be trying to say, these lads are good, give them a chance, and be supportive. I don't understand the idea of the pro wrestling media ripping down pro wrestling. What good is that? What good is having a pro wrestling show or a podcast or any kind of newsletter that's negatively ripping down the thing that you're trying to make money off? Why aren't these podcasts going, did anyone see Raw? this was amazing. This was amazing. This could have been better. Maybe they could do it this way. Not like just this negative, destructive criticism that's like written people down. And like, thankfully, I have enough self-confidence to like not pay any attention to that shit. But like some people do. And especially the younger lads. And when I was younger, I probably would have heard it and it would have hurt. And I remember the first time, my first singles match in England. I'd done a couple of tag matches, and I had my first singles match in England. And I remember it was me versus Paul Tracy. And then a couple of weeks later, Paul's one of my good mates from Bray, who I started out with. And this like newsletter in England, he shows it to me and he goes, look, these lads like talk shit about our match. And the match was, it basically just said, obvious hammerlock trainee student match, went from A to B to C to D, pretty basic, whatever. But it was. That's what it was. I was a student. I was doing a training match. But I remember at the time thinking, oh, fuck, that guy didn't like my match. Oh, no. And like, this is because I'm like 18 years old and it's the first time I'm getting criticized for anything other than like Gaelic, you know, which you fucking didn't score that point. Like, you know, but now like you're reading it like, and it's on the internet, and the internet's this new thing 20 years ago. You're like, oh my God, how many people seen this? So like, if I felt that and I'm confident, like what are these lads that don't have confidence in self-belief and they're reading critiques of themselves? Like what's that doing to their self-confidence? It's potentially destroying their career, and they're not even getting going before like they have a chance. Do you know what I mean? Like someone's criticized them. They've read that criticism. It's affected them so much that they've either changed what they're doing or they've given up on it. And I just think the world in general needs to be a lot more like positive and supportive to people like starting out. And if people are like not doing something as good as you think they should be doing, like be a little bit more positive about it. Absolutely. And see, and listen, don't get me started about the idea of like someone on a podcast critiquing like what I'm doing. Like, sweet.
You don't want to hear me and Mero's take on your suplexes, no? just saying, like, I mean, you know, I've never wrestled a day in my life, but I reckon I could teach you something. Just saying.
I was listening to Kevin Owens recently, and he was talking about, I think he might have said he signed a new deal as well, and he was asked about, you know, dream matches, and without hesitation, he mentioned that he wanted to do, he said, you're one of his best friends and he wants to get into a meaningful program with him. You've got 5 years left. What are your dream matches left, or not left? I think you can go on beyond 5, but in terms of currently, what, you know, Judgment Day is just sensational. What do you want to do? What friends do you want to work with?
Definitely Kevin is something that I want to revisit. I think today is actually the 9-year anniversary of me and Kev's match in Tokyo. I just seen on Twitter there.
Unreal. What a match.
But yeah, I haven't watched it back yet, but that was such like a cool full circle moment for me, because I had left New Japan in that building like 2 years almost to the date before like I had my last match in Japan that I thought was going to be the last time I ever wrestled in Japan. And then to return like 2 years later for my first WWE Championship match, and then to win the belt in the same building around the same people that I'd said goodbye to 2 years earlier, thinking I'm never going to see them again. That was like a bananas moment. Plus, in those 2 years, I became such good friends with Kevin, and like we're doing it together. It was that was a cool full circle moment. But yeah, Kev, someone I'd love to work with, JD, obviously, like down the line. I think Damien's pretty much like that's probably going to happen. I'm pretty sure, like probably in the next year or two. I'd love to go with Brock again. I'd love another run with Roman. I feel like that the run with Roman there got cut a little bit short because Brock came back and we kind of like pivoted. That was supposed to be like a 3 or 4 month program. I think it only ended up being like 6 weeks. But like earlier we were saying, like when one thing changes, it affects everything. So, yeah, Brock, Roman.
What's Brock like, Ferg?
A lot of people are scared of him. I like him, and we have a good relationship. So I can only speak for my relationship. But he's very standoff. He is a freak athlete. Like he's just so big. And there's one thing about about being big, right? But then to be explosive, to then have speed, to then have coordination, to then have stamina, like, we've all like grown up in school, right? And there's like a big lad on the football team. You just like stick him up front because he's slow and he can't move and whatever. Like that doesn't apply to like these lads in WWE. It's amazing. Like and like it kind of normally goes, the bigger you get, the slower you get. Like you look at Braun Strowman, like no offense, but like he doesn't move like Brock. Brock is just a different level, altogether, completely different level than everyone else on the roster, like physically.
Yeah.
And I think he understands the business better. I think he's the most underrated professional in history, perhaps. He sells better than anyone, more realistic than anyone. He's by far my favorite opponent.
He's never in that conversation, and I have to agree with you as well. By the way,
he's always overlooked.
Yeah,
he's always overlooked. He's been at the top for, I don't know, 15 years more maybe, and he can do it all.
Is there any programs you'd like to get into with people you haven't worked with?
I'm trying to think of someone who I haven't worked with.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah,
there's
like there's
cool NXT lads coming up as well.
Yeah, no, there is. Let me see. Like Braun Breaker looks like he could have something.
Yeah, you mentioned Gunther earlier as well. Yeah,
Gunther. Yeah, you know who's someone who I had a very brief tag team match against was Trick Williams, and he impressed the hell out of me. Yeah, so I think he's going to be a standout in years to come. And then who else? The Creeds. The Creeds are a great tag team. I think both of them have something that we can do. And then Ilya, I had the match with Ilya, but I don't think I was in the right like mental state at the time to like really like turn it on. I just didn't know him. It was the first time we'd met was that day, and I should have kind of. I feel like I should have went into that match with a little bit more homework done. I feel like you
wouldn't have known watching the match that was the first time you met.
Well, I've never watched it back, so but that's me. I just don't like to watch myself back. I'm too embarrassed.
Yeah, that's the Irishness again. What I'm talking about in terms of modesty and stuff like that. It's such an Irish trait, isn't it?
Yeah, and I often wonder, like, would watching the matches back make me better because I like critique myself more, and and that's kind of the reason why I don't watch them back, because I hate them. I go, I can't believe I done that. Oh no, that looks so bad, and that's why I don't like as self-preservation. And the only time I would watch a match back if like something really got fucked up, to try and like figure out what happened. That's the only time I do, which is probably the wrong way of doing it, because if I watch the good matches back, or at least what I interpret as good matches, I might go, that actually wasn't that good. I can do that better. And, I might see things differently where I just like to feel it and like go by the feeling. And if I had a good feeling in the ring, and I don't want to ruin that feeling. And I just go, yeah, that felt good. The people enjoyed it at the time. I came back through the curtain. The boss liked it. Opponent liked it. No one got hurt. Forget about it. Think of the next one.
It's working for you, man. It's working for you.
What matches do you want to see him in, Dan?
Man, look, there's a list of them there. There's a list of them there. I did like.
Come on.
I love. Right, I'm loving the tag team, and I think, like as you said, it feels like the tag team division actually has a bit of excitement about it. For years, it was just kind of floating. There wasn't really a whole lot going on, but now there is. I don't know if this is what it's building to, but it feels like the Miz or Truth thing with you guys again. There's another layer to that, I feel like. But long term though, definitely. I'd love to see the Gunther match. I think there's probably a few lads in NXT coming up, as Mero said. But for me, you versus Kevin Owens, or even like Sammy, I just think there'd be something good in that. Your rivalry with Seth Rollins when he's doing the Intercontinental stuff, and resurrect that as well. That battle was unreal. Like, so there's so many options there.
I'd love to see you against CM Punk. Have you faced CM Punk?
Never. I'd love to be in there with Punk. I'd love to get in there with Cody again. But I feel like my preference of what I want to do is slightly different than it was like 5 years ago. Like just talking about those matches with Seth, like I do want to go back and work with Seth, but I want to work the way I'm working now, not the way I was working then. They were more like 50-50 like babyface, just like go out there and try and have a good match. It's not
Yeah.
really like telling a story. It's not really like playing with people's emotions. It's not really like people trying to figure it out as they're going along. There's no like innuendo, right? It's just
Yeah.
like the match. It's just the match, and the match is gonna be good, but it's just a match, and it doesn't like touch on any like anything like deep. And I would rather work into a storyline. I'd love to work with the White Six. I feel like we could do some cool shit there, you know.
Yeah, you do some cool shit there with the Demon.
Yeah.
Well,
The Demon's
I was gonna say
Demon's a weird one because I would like to keep Finn as a heel and the Demon as the babyface and not blur the lines at all. And but it's so hard. And I feel like the Demon's kind of something that we haven't executed or utilized very well the last couple of years. And I'd rather not do it than do it in a way that I'm not happy with. So
100% agree.
Yeah. And look, in 6 years' time, they can wheel me out there in demon paint, and I'll do the entrance. And but now Finn's having too much fun, man, and I feel like I can give a lot more layers as a heel Finn than like as the Demon. Demon's just very straightforward. He's like a bulldozer. He just goes straight for the kill, like where the Finn's a little bit more sneaky and like there's more like story arcs you can tell with Finn versus like a supernatural demon. So it's
but isn't it amazing that like how the transition of supernatural, whether it be Demon Finn or even the Wyatt Six or even God love him and one of my favorites ever, Bray Wyatt.
Yeah,
it's amazing how the transition of paranormal story kind of persona can actually work then when you smash the heads off each other. Like,
yeah, it's and it's credit to like the WWE as a company and how they build the shows that like you can have like a 50-50 babyface intercontinental title match that like people are into, and then the next match is like a dead man versus his burnt alive brother, like with fire shooting out the ring posts, and like it's still equally like as accepted,
Yeah.
So like that's like credit to the company for being able to like do that seamlessly and like keep people's attention even on something completely different, like in the confines of the WWE universe. Yeah. So I think it's important to have that. I think it's super important to have that variety, like in the show, and like have the high flyers, have the hard hitters, have the the gimmicky stuff, or for lack of a better word, paranormal stuff, and then like have the clear cut heel babyface title match. Like it's kind of like the circus, you need jugglers, the tightrope, the elephants, and
need it all.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm the little clown. Like I'm the little clown that comes out juggling.
I listen to Gallows and Anderson every week. They're threatening to get you on the podcast. Can we look forward to that?
I email them every week to their podcast account asking when am I going to be on, and I listen all the time, and I text them all the time saying, lads, this podcast is 100 times better than it was when you lads were drunk. It's 100 times better. So like I'm very proud. I'm super proud of both of them. Like
they're so funny, Ferg.
They're so funny, but they've always been funny. And a lot of people thought the humor was based in the hangover / getting drunk / telling us funny stories of the things that they are embarrassed about that they done the night before. Whereas they're actually funnier now, and they're like stone cold sober and just like analyzing, and they're actually analyzing the business really well as well, and they're giving constructive criticism, and like they're shining like a light on the business, like not like negativity. And I'm very proud of both of them, and I'm dying to go on that podcast.
I'm dying to listen to it.
I'm a little bit nervous about them though, because they have like photographic memories, and I remember very little. And I always say, like, if I ever write a book, like I'll have to like lean on like Paul Tracy and Johnny Moss for like the English chapters. I'll have to lean on like Carl Anderson and Gallows for like the Japan chapters, and then everyone else in WWE for the rest. But yeah, they remember everything. Yeah, big.
Will you be writing a book, Ferg? Be brilliant.
If someone writes it for me.
Get Mick Foley to write it for you.
I can't even spell, lads. Like
Danny will write it for you. Actually, Danny's a good ghostwriter.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'd like to write a book or not. But See, I'm too busy with wrestling now. That'll be after wrestling. It won't be
Yeah.
like in the middle of the career crap, you know.
Yeah.
It will be when everything else is done. Because you can't really have perspective on things when you're in the middle of it, you know. And I still don't have like full perspective yet of what I'm doing. Like, you kind of lose perspective, and then like Jordan comes in and wins the title. Like, oh, God, we started when he was 12 years old. Like, that's cool. But like, sometimes you're just so like tunnel vision, like with the blinkers on, just trying to like get to the next show or figure out the next storyline arc, that you're not really thinking about what I done last week or what I done last year. And like even that like Survivor Series match, I don't really remember it. Like, I remember like waiting for music to hit. Me and Damien and Jordan were like literally tying the bandanas on, and Hunter stands up, calls me over and says, "Hey, just so you know, after the match, there's going to be someone coming out. It's going to be Punk. He's just going to walk out and stand there. He's not going to do anything. He's not going to come down to the ring. Just wanted to let you know so you aren't surprised when you're out there."
And what did you think when he said that to you?
Well, I didn't have time to think, because as you're saying it, the music hit and the judgment time, we have to walk out. And I think like we're all standing there in the dark, like waiting for the pyro to hit. And I'm going, CM Punk's back. Jesus, that's going to put the cat amongst the pigeons. And then like didn't even think about it, and then you're focused on the match, you know.
But, like there was great fan footage of reactions post the War Games. Like, you had Rhea doing something mimicking Punk, and you had Seth obviously aggro. But what when his music hit, I know you were told before it, but the reaction was Jesus mental, wasn't it?
It was, but I don't know if I could fully absorb it. Like for me, and it might have been like the adrenaline and the fatigue, but Randy's music, it sounded like a louder pop to me. Now, that's just me and my perspective. Obviously, you guys were watching and have like a neutral opinion. I had just gone through a match, and I was more worried about Jordan coming off the top of the cage. And like, that's all that I was worried about the whole match. Like, I wasn't worried about anything I was doing. I was worried about him getting hurt. And I remember like when we were setting up the spot, I remember thinking he's going off that corner. And like, I remember I took something and I rolled under the rope where the corner he was, because I knew then I could just watch the whole thing as like he was flying off the cage, like from underneath, and like no one would get in my way. And I also thought, like, if anything happens, maybe I could reach out and grab him, like, you know, if in case that happens. But I remember that's all I was worried about the whole day was, is he going to hurt himself coming off that cage? Please don't, please don't, please don't. And then that happened. I think just all the anxiety just kind of left my body, and I was just like, okay, that's our job done now. He's grand, I'm grand. We can go on to Raw tomorrow. You know, that's kind of what I was thinking. I wasn't really worried about how were the crowd going to react to CM Punk. It's not my problem. Like, it's not my job to worry about that. You know, it's my job to go out there and do the match. So I'd done the match, so that's all I was really worried about.
I bet JD probably put his hand up to do that spot as well, did he?
Of course, he was begging to do it. It was his idea. But like, when you're young and hungry and eager and you want to make an impression, like, that's what you got to do. You got to, like, you can't wait for people to say, "Hey, do you want to jump off the cage?" No, you got to say, like, "No, I'll do it."
Randy gave us amazing.
Hey, you want to know the difference between me and JD? When I was on my first run in NXT in a cage match against Samoa Joe, they wanted me to jump off the top of the cage and do the foot stomp, and I said no. I was like, and this is like Michael Hayes, like the main producer. He said, "What do you mean you don't want to do your finisher off the top of the cage?" I said, "Well, A, I might get hurt. B, it's my finisher and I'm losing the match. So like, why would I do it off the cage?" And he goes, "Good point." Then I didn't do it. But in my mind, I'm thinking, like, hang on, this is NXT. This is the training ground to get me to WWE. I'm not going to risk getting hurt here to then jeopardize going there. Mm-hmm. And I've kind of like kept that philosophy now, saying, hey, I'm not going to risk getting hurt today because then I won't be able to wrestle tomorrow. So that's pretty much why I don't take too many risks anymore.
You don't need to.
Boys. Yeah, no, it's
Wisdom,
a marathon, boys. It's not a sprint,
Yeah, that's it.
I took all those risks when I was 19 and 20 and Wolf Tone and Bray, like jumping over the top rope, no one catching me straight onto the AstroTurf or whatever it's called. You know, the hard
Wolf Tone and Bray to like WrestleMania, 100,000 people.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. Like, for all the Irish contingent in the company, you're kind of, when we were growing up, we had nobody to cheer for at home. Now we're spoiled. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, hopefully it will inspire the next generation.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Talk to us about Big Ange and your hope for Spurs this season. Were you happy with him last season?
I was, yeah. I think everyone got like a little bit over excited with like the first 10 games or whatever. But I think that's to be expected. Like if you look at the season as a whole, I think we've done pretty well. Didn't like spend a load of money, but then and also sold the best striker in the world and still had like a decent season compared to the year before. So I think that was like kind of a transition. I think this coming season will be the real tell and tale of if he can do it, you know, which I hope he can. And he brought it. I don't think he's going to really bring in any like big names. I think he's going to get these young lads like 18, 19 and kind of groom them into the players he wants. And I think he has a good, like, the team doesn't seem to be centered around one player anymore. It's just like a team. And it's kind of like interchangeable and like almost like every player can play any position. So it feels like a lot more robust. Whereas like if you lose one player, you can just slip one player in or move a player into a different position. So obviously we're not didn't win the league, but it seems like it's in a better it seems like it's in a better state than it was like 2 years ago. So if that progression continues, like I think we'll be in a good spot in a year or two.
Will you hope to get over to a game or two, or?
There's always hope. Yeah, there's always hope. But right now we're so slammed that unless it like it aligns with us being in the UK at the same time, it's unlikely.
Will you be on the November card in Dublin, or is that SmackDown?
I normally don't find out till like about 3 weeks beforehand of what like the shows get advertised, but I don't get my calendar until about 3 weeks beforehand. And then, for example, yesterday I got a call saying, "Hey, you're going to be in Toronto tomorrow," where it wasn't supposed to be. So like it always changes. But yeah, people like are already texting me about that show in Dublin. Hey, you're going to be on that, and like I literally don't know until 3 weeks ahead. So I hope I am, but probably not. If it's SmackDown, they try and keep it pretty consistent with the brands and the storylines.
Yeah, Toronto will be a mad kip this weekend.
Toronto will be busy, yeah, and it's normally a pretty rowdy crowd. So
yeah,
I'm sure it'll be wild.
We've taken so much of our time, and I can't show our appreciation as much. You're an absolute gentleman, so thank you so much.
Appreciate it,
yeah,
man.
Thanks, lads. It's good chatting as always, and I'm always up for coming on the podcast.
Love
Appreciate
it,
that, man. Thank you, and continued success.
So I'm not annoying you when I'm always WhatsApping you.
No, never. Yeah, let's not leave it this long. What must be about 3 years or something since the last one, was it?
3 years, I think. 2 months ago, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is your third or fourth appearance, but yeah, I think it was 3 years.
Who's got the most appearances?
Probably Paul Howard, I'd say.
Paul Howard.
Yeah.
Okay. What's he on, about 10?
Yeah,
probably is, to be fair. I have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and he done a live show as well, so you'll have to come over and do a live show.
I'd love to do that. That'd be a crack.
That counts as double.
Yeah.
That counts as double,
yeah.
Yeah. All right, boys. Appreciate it.
What a man.
An absolute gentleman. I mean, I didn't realize the time. You know, we had an hour, went way above that because he wanted to, not us, thankfully. But the chat was just so natural and brilliant, and it gave a different perspective in terms of the actual art of professional wrestling, in terms of live television, what goes on. Like, obviously I'm following it all my life, and I enjoy watching it. I enjoy crowd reactions and stuff like that, but you don't really understand what the wrestlers are actually having to go through on live television, and for his perspective of that, which I've never really heard in high level detail like that before, was just brilliant. It was, I could still hear chatting to him only for he got in trouble and he has to go for lunch.
Exactly, that's it. Yeah,
he's a beautiful human being. He's a new 5-year contract with the company. His last 5 years have been amazing, and I can only imagine that the next 5 years are going to be even better.
Oh, stop. And like he's on such a tear at the moment, and like the fact that he said it to us, he is like, you know, like he had that really, really low point before the Judgment Day stuff happened, and you know, to see where he is now and what he's doing, and like that the storyline and the possibilities within those storylines and just the character development, the whole thing, like it's we've been saying it for a little while now, pro wrestling's cool again. And
Yeah.
he's at the heart of that. He's at the center of that coolness, man. Like the Judgment Day is an unbelievable faction. And like how they go from like that, like he touched on it, the R-Truth stuff being like, it's levity, right? It's fun. It's kind of like you want to watch it because you're getting a bit of crack out of it, whatever. But then
Yeah.
also the Judgment Day being a heel faction, you get that bit of cynicism. You get that bit it's just chef kiss. I'm loving it.
Absolutely. He said to get him on again. So December, we'll give him till December, or maybe after the Rumble. We'll give him till then, and I'll give him a shout. But we're lucky enough to have access to him in the way that we do. That we can text or the chap has about 10 million followers and across all social media, which is just. I often have that kind of like me and you were saying. Couldn't believe that two lads from Bray are the tag team champions.
The world tag team champions.
Bray, it's mental. No disrespect to Bray, but I mean, the significance of that is just crazy.
These are two lads who probably like you and I at some stage of life, Graham, have just got a bag of Henry and Rose chipper chips while waiting on the bus home.
Absolutely.
Not because you wanted chips, just because you were waiting on the bus and you were cold. So you said, get a bag of chips.
Absolutely. And now, like you said, performing at Wolftown Centre, the Wolftown, is it a leisure centre or community centre?
Yeah, whatever it was.
50 people, and he had a Hell in a Cell with a WWE Hall of Famer Reg in front of 80, 90, 100,000 people.
Bananas.
Split his head open and has to improvise and get staples, and that story was brilliant.
It was class. I love it, man.
I didn't know any of that, by the way. I obviously knew about the staples because he made merchandise from it, but the level of detail with there's no staples in the gun, and just
the doc getting a staple in the finger.
Together with Christy Moore, that's probably one of my favorite podcasts. Of course, all the Paul Howards and Gary Mackles are up there.
Yeah,
but that was just deadly.
It was
the great Fergal Devitt, known worldwide as Finn Bálor.
Yeah, what a charmed existence you and I are having, getting to talk to all these wonderful people, Graham.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, look, that was fun. And maybe next week we'll touch more on what we got up to on our summer holidays. But I think that's a long enough episode for now. What do you reckon?
It is indeed. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we have to scrimmage now to see who we're going to talk to next week.
might be just you and I, Graham. Might be another global superstar. At this stage, it may end up being some sort of clairvoyant, and we talk to Elvis from beyond the grave. Who knows?
Let's do it. Has Bruce Springsteen replied to your emails yet?
No, Bruce hasn't. He's very busy on tour at the moment. However, I did get talking to a guy who claims that he once served Bruce Springsteen a spice bag. So I'm working on bringing him on board.
So if you want to listen to our podcast, you can go to WTSpod.com, or you can search WTS Pod on any podcast provider. Podcast Republic, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere you get a podcast. Just search WTS Pod. We're on Instagram at WTS Pod. We're on Twitter at WTS Pod. He's at Danjo Murray. I'm at Merrigan Mania. And this has been What's the Story 314 with the great Fergal Devitt. Until next time.
Clear eyes.
Full hearts.
Can't lose.
Too sweet.